92Q Nashville's R&B and throwbacks. We are in the studio right now with the man that's just, man, you got the Time magazine picture going on right now about this whole situation. State Representative Antonio Parkinson is in the studio, man. What's going on with
baby.
us, up?
What's up, Kenny Smooth?
Man,
Thanks for
man.
having me back, man.
You're always welcome here, man.
Right now, some people, they as hot as it is out there politically, some people might be a little skittish.
They shying away. I'm like, no, man, we got to go ahead first with this, man. I mean, they snatch your rights off the table and the whole nine, and folks like yourself and Justin Pearson, you guys out there in the whole middle of this whole situation, man. So last week, I mean, for some reason they can't figure out how to get other bills passed, but they got this thing done off the press in less than a week.
Yeah, it
up
was
and down.
it was definitely a choreographed process. That they had laid out and that they were executing. And that's not the first time.
Right.
When same thing with the Memphis and Shelby County schools takeover and, some of the other really, really important bills that the public is against and that they want to ram through. Because, because a lot of times what people don't realize is these are national agendas that are taking place. And you have the Republican states or the red states that are marching to the orders of Stephen Miller and President Donald Trump.
Absolutely. It's all coordinated. It's no way that all these Legos are just falling into place and snapping together.
No. You know where I applaud them though is the fact that they got a plan.
That's what what?
That's where I applaud them.
I can't. I'm not mad about that.
Right.
I mean, and the Democrats need to take a look at them. They have a plan from top to bottom.
From top to bottom, every detail.
From the federal level all the way down to the county to the cities, and everybody's lockstep.
Yes, everybody's lockstep.
Nobody's getting out of line.
Yeah, and what's interesting too, when before Tennessee became a red state, they had a plan. They had a strategy. They called it "Red to the Roots," and what they did was, they went and got as many local Republicans elected as possible.
Right.
And then from there, they start building on those spaces, those locally elected officials and started flipping, the state to red. And then, of course, when President Obama was elected, the anger
that was gas.
Oh God, it's like it was literally the gas to the small simmer that was happening, and that of course brought made some of the it's kind of like one of them deals where it rains real good and then all of the worms start coming up to the surface. Right. And so that's what made that happen. And then of course once Trump was elected and Trump won, of course, the brazenness and, all the snakes start surfacing. They can come back out of the holes now.
Right. We can act how we want to act.
Right.
And talk how we want to talk.
Right.
All of that is what's going on right now, what we're seeing. Yeah. So, I'm telling folks, man, I'm like, take it how you want, but this is Jim Crow 2.0.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming. They're taking, the whole thing with Jim Crow was to take away your rights, give you no protections.
Right.
Economically gut you.
Yes.
And to disenfranchise you politically.
Yeah.
And this is all happening. It's happening right now.
Yeah. And if you watch the pattern, I'm a pattern person.
Right.
And I peeped this pattern, right? They're literally walking every major accomplishment backwards in the same order that they were accomplished, going the opposite direction forward.
Exactly.
So and let's go back, right? You go back to the founding of the country and slavery. Then there was the abolishment of slavery. Then there was Reconstruction. Then there was Jim Crow. And then there was the Civil Rights Movement, right? And one of which in the Voting Rights Act, and then affirmative action,
all that,
and all of that, right? And if you remember, they got rid of affirmative action first. All of the DEI stuff, all of the the education of Black education, Black folks, Black history, and then now the Voting Rights Act. And so what's next? Jim Crow, right? What's behind that is Reconstruction, and then what's behind that is a Civil War.
Wow.
Right, and then slavery.
Wow.
And so and I tell our people, while we're out here, finding our fans and or looking for the fans, where them fans at?
Where them fans at?
And keeping your boots on the ground. They're putting their boots on your neck.
Right. I keep telling folks, man, you know what? I mean, I love a good time. We both do. You know, you gonna see it. We gonna be at the party,
right?
But we also gonna be at the rally.
Yeah. We're also gonna be responsible.
We're gonna be responsible with this. And you guys, we gotta do both.
We gotta do both. Yeah. And you know, you think about, you know, when we went through, you know, George Floyd and you know, all of these things, and you know, all of the protests, and you know, they know us better than we know ourselves, because we're the most studied people on God's earth. We haven't been under the petri dish since they were heading over there to Africa to grab us, right? And so they know that, you know, this too will pass with them, right? We'll be talking about it. We'll be protesting. We'll be on Facebook, this, that, and other. And you know, the cultural differences though is when they do something that like, remember back when they were talking about passing an income tax, and white folks surrounded the Capitol in their vehicles, right? and then white folks went out there and voted.
Right.
A lot of and voted and ate their own, right? But they know that we'll get on Facebook, you know, talk about it, argue with each other about it. And then when election time come around, God forbid it rains, you ain't coming out. They know that though. And I guarantee you, they factored all of that in the redrawing of these lines.
Right. And they kind of know that, you know, it's going to be a soft response. You know, after Roe v. Wade didn't get the response I thought it was going to get.
Right. Yes.
They were like, oh, man, they not paying attention to nothing. Right. They don't care.
Right.
Let's go for all of it.
Right.
You know, and that's pretty much what you see happening right now.
But, you know, Roe v. Wade wasn't really our fight, but
Yeah, I'm just watching how the political thing was going, and the whole thing is soft. And that's kind of where they know
it's going to, you know, you ask, you know, who's talking about the young lady that got killed in Minnesota now today? Nobody. Right? Who's talking about
it was hot for about 2 weeks.
Who's talking about Trayvon Martin or George Floyd today? Nobody. You see what I'm saying? And they know that we're gonna forget it. We're gonna soften and be back to finding our fans and
And I think what happened too was you know, they learned that, you know, with the George Floyd thing, the media kept talking about it and they kept going. So now they went and bought all the media up.
Yes, indeed.
They bought all of it up.
And if you think about it, I'm gonna show you something too, man, that you know, when this thing, when the Voting Rights Act was killed or gutted by the Supreme Court, the very next day, Trump releases the UFO tapes. Man, hey, you know, my business is marketing and public relations.
Right.
And public opinion. And I saw it. I said, oh, God.
Wow. What a curveball.
Hey, look over here, everybody. UFOs.
Yeah, let's go over there.
Right. Don't worry about that Voting Rights Act. Don't worry about the fact that we're taking your right to vote away. We're gutting you.
And the crazy part about it is that the PR part of it is what they're very careful about. Like,
and they're very good.
It's not going to, I keep telling folks, if you're waiting for the Klan to come run by your neighborhood on a horse, you're going to be waiting for a long time. They're not doing that. This is the nice Jim Crow.
They're subtle.
To take away your rights and have you smiling about it.
Right. They're crafty. Yes.
And they're not going to, it's not going to be, no one's going to run up on you and call you the N-word except for Chud the Builder, dumbass.
Right.
But outside of somebody like that, you're not going to see Sexton and people like that in power making those kind of moves.
Yeah. I tell people that one of my most viral clips on our podcast. Let me do the shameless plug. The Antonio Parkinson Project. If you're not following, follow, subscribe, and share. The Antonio Parkinson Project. I said on there, and I promise you, it's one of my most viral clips. I said one thing you'll never see a white person from Wealth riding around with a rebel flag on the back of his truck, and you'll never see a black person from True Wealth running around shouting Black Lives Matter, because they know the fight is down here with the poor people, with the regular people.
Let them fight.
Let them fight. Let one holler Black Lives Matter. Let one, drive around in the pickup that he barely afford with the rebel flag on the back of his truck. Chud the Builder, aka, right? And so and let them fight. Because as long as we can keep them divided, we can just clean their clocks, and that's what they're doing.
Yep. And every time it seems like there's looking like those two entities may get together, that's when they're the scariest. That's when they're the most afraid.
That's the problem.
And that's what we need to be focused on. That's why I don't spend my time talking about black versus white and all that. I'm gonna let somebody else can do that. If you want to do that, go over there and do that. The power is us getting together.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the power.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, so we need and the more they keep lobbing these little interruption bombs.
Yeah, throw that red meat in there. Throw that red meat in there. Let them fight.
Keep it going. Let them fight.
Yeah, let them fight.
And it just never ends. But that every time in history you see them two get closer and closer, something catastrophic happens.
You're absolutely
to make them go back at each other again.
Or they will pick one side off and take them and make them think that they are belonging to the upper echelon, such as what Trump has done to poor white folks. And you know, a lot of people missed it, but Trump said one time, and I caught it too, and I was like, oh man, that's cold-blooded. He said, I am the reincarnation of President Andrew Jackson. But see, if you don't know the history of President Andrew Jackson, you wouldn't know what he was talking about. Trump, man, people say Trump is dumb. Trump is not dumb by a long shot.
He knows what he knows.
Man, listen.
I'll say that much.
Andrew Jackson, you know, back during the Homestead Act, you know, they get the United States government gave swaths of land to rich white men, right? And these swaths of land were the size of states, not one state, states, like the Oklahoma Territory was states, and they gave it to you know, some of the what they called the elite of the colonies back then, right? Well, the poor white folks will go out on their land and build their log cabins and raise some cattle and grow a farm and you know, raise their family, and they would also be out there clearing the land of the natives, right? But once the land was cleared, the rich wealthy person came back and said, "Hey, yo,
what you doing on my land?
You on my land? You got to go." And watch this, y'all. We were watching this history and didn't even realize what we were watching. So those of us that watched Little House on the Prairie, though, they were one of those guys, one of those poor white folks, right? And that's where the term squatters comes from. Well, when there was so much upheaval and anger about getting kicked off these lands, right, and uprooting your whole family, and you lose your cattle and your farm, and you done did all this work to keep the natives away, and then they get kicked off. And so Andrew Jackson came along and said, hey, I'll be your voice to those poor white folks that were the squatters. And that's who elected Andrew Jackson. That's why President Trump said, I am the reincarnation or the second coming of Andrew Jackson. And it was Andrew Jackson that led the Trail of Tears. And look at Trump, what Trump is doing now. History. Man, you got to know it.
You got to know it. It's going to repeat itself.
That's interesting, man. That's
very much so.
Man.
So with Memphis, right? Let's talk Memphis, because I mean, you're a Memphis boy. You know, you represent. You represent North Memphis?
Yes, I represent the Raleigh and Cordova area now. I used to have, you know, North Memphis, Douglas, Hyde Park, Hollywood, and Frazier. But you know, as the population shifted during redistricting under the real rules of redistricting, my district was shifted eastern, in which it was all, now it's all of Raleigh and going into some of Bartlett and into the Cordova area.
Okay. So that's how they shifted your district.
Yeah, and I live in Raleigh anyway. I've been, you know, living in Raleigh since I've been in Memphis. So
they thought that was going to unseat you, but that ain't do nothing.
Right. No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm locked in.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, hearing a little rumbles and stuff, people saying like, man, we going to secede from the state. We just want to be in the state of Memphis.
Right.
What's that talk all about?
Oh, man, I love it. I mean, see, and, you know, it's doing exactly what I wanted it to do, right? It's making people talk and think about, you know, the abusive relationship that the city of Memphis and Shelby County, not only city of Memphis and Shelby County, but that of Davidson County and Nashville also is in with the state of Tennessee, right? And I want you to think, and the reason why I said that, right, is, well, number one, let me be clear, you know, that there should be conversations. I'm not saying that we should act on those conversations. There should be conversations. And here's why I'm saying there should be conversations. There should be conversations because I think that Nashville, Davidson County, and Memphis and Shelby County has lost their perspective of their own value to the state. The state obviously has lost their perspective on the value of both Memphis and Shelby County and Nashville and Davidson County and what they bring to the state.
Right.
So what do they bring to the state? I'm glad you asked. Memphis and Shelby County is the #1 contributor to the tax coffers of the state of Tennessee. Nashville and Davidson County is, when I say a very close second, I'm talking about
they probably switch up every quarter or so.
And it toggles, right? And so Nashville, Davidson County is sometimes #1 contributor to the state tax coffers, sometimes #2. So between the two cities, this is where the bulk of the state taxes come from. Now watch this. All of those individuals that were making that decision, or those decisions, to one, take over the Nashville airport, two, to allow this tunnel to be built up under, Nashville, Davidson County, to take over Memphis and Shelby County schools, to redraw the lines and mute the voices of the Black population of Memphis and Shelby County.
Right.
Most of them, we are subsidizing their counties. They are on welfare from Memphis and Shelby County,
Coffee
and
County,
and Nashville and Davidson County is paying their bills.
Yep.
So the reason I said secession is because I want people to think about what would happen to Tennessee if Memphis and Shelby and Nashville and Davidson County decided to get on down. Tennessee would become the poorest state in the Union.
It would be West Virginia.
They would be poorer than West Virginia. I mean, think about that. What's that show out there in West Virginia? It's a show out, the reality show out there in West Virginia, and they talk about how poor these white folks are in West Virginia. And Tennessee would be worse than West Virginia. Wow. While the new state of West Tennessee would be one of the richest states in the Union, probably bipartisan or Democratic, and your schools would be funded and your roads would be great. And so that is the point and the purpose of me saying, especially if, and you think about this, right? In that moment when I said that, they were literally about to pass the redrawing of 3 districts, carving out of one district that was Memphis and Shelby County's Congressional District 9. And I said, if you're going to remove the ability for Memphis and Shelby County to choose its representation, that's the very thing that they were dumping tea in the Boston Harbor for the founding of the United States of America.
Right. Taxation without representation.
I mean, think about what I'm saying. So I'm going back to the foundation of this country.
Right.
Right. This is what you folks got mad about with England. And so y'all started, having an upheaval and a revolution for independence.
It led to war.
To leave the rule of England because they were taxing you but would not allow you to choose your own representation.
And here's the other thing too, I feel like if you're going to redraw these lines and strip away these people's ability to pick their leaders, those lines should also represent the economic balance too. This should be so if you're going to merge me into Williamson County, good. Williamson County, come fix some of these schools.
Amen.
Williamson County, come fix some of these roads.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you want to take my vote from me,
right,
or dilute it or merge us together, but you don't want to merge that money though.
Right.
You don't want to merge the money.
Right. And how many times have you seen where you got you're the family member that has gone off and you're doing well, right?
Right.
And then they put this guilt trip on you and try to get you to you can come back and help your other family members, and then they pull you down under. That's probably what Williamson County thinking about. Man, I don't want to be with these.
I don't want to be with them, man. They cool over there.
Yeah. Man,
but it's the way that they got it though. It's like I think when we were talking on the phone. It's really on some pimping hoe stuff.
Oh man, look, man.
It is.
Hey, man.
It's pimping.
And
one thing Memphis know is pimping when they see it.
Right. And so look, hey, you got Memphis is the fine black hole. You got Nashville the fine white hole. Right. And they both making all the money. But every chance that the state gets, they slap them down, man. Every single chance they get. You and tell them and remind them that they ain't right. And so and you think about this, right? I brought this up. I spoke in front of the apartment association yesterday, and I said, think about this, right? If you grow up in a verbally abusive, physically abusive, neglectful home, your self-esteem is going to plummet. Right. And I made this example. I said, if you go to Chicago with all of the crime in Chicago, and you ask somebody from Chicago, hey, What you think about Chicago? Oh, they finna lay it on like, man, Chicago's the greatest. Oh, we got this, that, and the other, such. We the best. You know, you need to come, man. Let me show you. Let me go get you some pizza. Let me go get you some popcorn. This, that, and other, so on and so forth.
Right.
Well, what about the killing and stuff over there in South? That we got that too, but we got this, that, and other. Their esteem is high.
It is.
Right. But in this abusive relationship, when you got the leaders of the state telling these cities how horrible they are, how bad they are, but these are the cities that generate the most money in the state. So there is an intentional infliction of abuse on both of these cities, these counties, Shelby and Davidson, and number one is unwarranted. Yeah, of course, you know, everybody got big city problems, right? They're big cities, right? But number two, these are two cities that you should be propping up. You got two, most states don't even have this. You got two rubies. You know, rubies are the most valuable gems that man knows of. Right. You got two rubies, and you rather take a sledgehammer to them instead of exporting them to the world. You got the blackest city in America.
In America.
That right there in itself, man, you think about the trillions of dollars that are spent to go down into the Caribbean to get the black experience, right? That's the same thing that could be happening with Memphis. But they choose to rather take a sledgehammer to it and export everything wrong with Memphis to the world.
Yeah.
That just defies common sense to me.
Yep. I think it's all about, you know, taking you know, it's the Trump way to take something and then drive the value down into and then sell it off in pieces.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
or you take it and then
you take it and you prop it back up, so to quote unquote, and you really don't prop it up. You just put some new windows in there. It's the same good house.
Same thing.
And then you said, look at what I did.
Right.
You know, I'm like, you didn't do nothing. You came in here and trashed it.
Made you some money off of it.
And made you some money off of it and sent it back out there. So it's a lot to be watched, guys, a lot to look at. I know you guys have heard the secession thing with Memphis, and you know it's conversations. It's really, whether it's acted on or not, of course, but it's really a conversation to make you, Memphis, look at your value.
Look at your value.
Davidson County, look at what you bring to the table. We always keep having this relationship conversation about what do you bring to the table.
Right.
Well, this is what they bring to the table for the state of Tennessee. We pretty much bring all the food.
You are the driver, and that's why you got to understand your value. You are the driver, right? You are the most valuable asset that the state of Tennessee has. And that's crazy that we don't know that, right? One of the things that, and if you don't mind, one of the things that a constituent will ask me at least once or twice a year, different constituent, they say, you know, how much do we pay in taxes to the state of Tennessee? And how much of those taxes are actually coming back to Memphis and Shelby County? And when I ask that question in committee, they will never, ever give us that answer.
Wow.
It's because our taxes are being used to subsidize these
coffee and
folks, Cotton County, you know, this, that, and I tell people, you take your poorest person in Nashville, Davidson County, or Memphis and Shelby County, take your poorest person and stand them up next to a poor person, not their poorest, a poor person in Cotton County, you will see a marked difference in poverty. You know, your poor person they probably still gonna have some teeth.
Right.
These folks ain't no teeth, no education, you know.
Barely no clothes on their back.
Right.
The only thing they own is Trump t-shirts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and so, you know, but again, we got to understand our value. And that is why we cannot lay down and let these things happen to us when we are actually the bosses.
So I know some lawsuits are you know, spinning about. Any hope on these, or you know, or we just kind of going through procedure?
Yeah. Oh no. There's actually hope on these lawsuits for real. And what I like, there's about 6 or 7 of them out there.
Yeah, it is.
Right, and there may be more coming too. You know, our Tennessee, our House Democratic Caucus has filed. The Tennessee State Party has filed. The NAACP has filed. There are some citizens who have filed. Both Justin Pearson and Steve Cohen said they were filing. I don't know if they filed or not.
Right.
But watch this though. A lot of people, when this thing was going on, we had a strategy. Yeah, we had a strategy, and our strategy was simply get it on the record. We needed to get the questions that we wanted to ask on the record. That's why if you were in there or you watched the hearing, you saw us how we were telling the protesters that were in the committee room, stop, do not to shut this thing down.
Right.
Because we got to get our questions on the record. I had to get on one of the Memphis protesters, and we had some words, right? But see, they didn't understand. I understand you're emotional about
procedure.
this. I understand you're emotional about this, and I understand you want blood. I get it. We want it too. However, we got to get these questions on the record, because if they shut it down, they're going to call a question, which means no more debate, and our questions for the lawsuits will not be on the record. So we had a strategy. Right. And we got them all out. We got all our questions out.
But, we get in there, man, and I tell folks, we got to have, less emotions and more strategy. Less emotions.
Got to move with
more
logic.
strategy.
You got to move with logic.
Have some meetings. I mean, and if I always say you're going to either give your money or time or both. You know what I'm saying? So donate money to Equity Alliance and people that are out there in the fight. Donate to candidates and people like yourself. You don't have to live in Memphis to put money on his campaign.
You really don't. As a matter of fact, you can come to the home of Chicken and Waffles on 2521 Gallatin Road at 5 o'clock today, and come and see us today, because we're having a reception out there, and we're going to have free food and everything. If you want to come up, pull up. Even if you come up and say hi, tell us you support.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, but do start small, and then see how you can expand your own personal cachet into this thing. This is happening to everybody.
It is.
Right now. This ain't just a Memphis thing.
Yeah.
You can see these guys are bleeding. I'm watching Nebraska change their thing.
Louisiana.
I'm watching Louisiana change their stuff.
Louisiana was in the middle of an election.
And the crazy part about it is, man, how could you do the rule has been census, then redistricting. Right. Y'all in the middle because you just want to.
Right, because
you can't win.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why.
You can't win unless you move the goalpost.
That's exactly why. That's exactly what
happened.
You
have to move the goalpost. So now it's not 100 yards to run the touchdown. It's 140.
Yeah, and it's on the left or on the right where they are. Right. So it's not just running the touchdown straight across the field. No, but they moved it over to the right
a little bit,
where you got to get through all of their people.
Right.
And here's what the fear is. The fear that it's two things happening, and people need to understand this. One is the ever-changing landscape of America is looking different. America is about to become, if it has not already, a majority minority nation. So there's more black and brown people than there are white people, and that ties to the abortion laws. Believe it or not, there's a reason why they overturned Roe v. Wade.
And I don't know how effective it's been.
Right, because they want people to populate, and and so that's one thing. But the other thing is this: Trump knows that if Congress gets a majority of Democrats, then he is going to be impeached for all of these crimes that he is committing.
He knows it.
And so that's why you see them moving in the direction for those two reasons. And if you've ever tried to give a cat a bath in a bathtub or a bucket that's sitting in the corner, this is what you're seeing them fight like.
Yeah, you're seeing the cat kick its legs,
scratching,
bite, because he knows that bucket is there, and he knows what's in that bucket,
right?
And he don't want to get in it. So and I keep saying, I even use the phrase, it's the not for Trump, because I don't want y'all trying to shadow ban me,
right?
But with some of the Republicans and the party itself, it's a dying party,
right? Yeah.
It's age every day.
Yes,
they age out.
Yeah, and it's no longer dies. The Republican
and the young
Party
people
either.
Ain't really coming in, except for the real skinheadish kind of people.
The Charlie Kirk folks now.
The Charlie Kirk guys. So you don't see a lot of that coming in.
Right.
But so it's like they're trying to find a way.
Right.
And so you got to keep moving the goalposts. Right. You got to keep changing the landscape and what it looks like, and you got to do all these things in order to try to win. Right. But from what I've been seeing or what have you, it looks like the Dems got a very strong chance, even with all of these little redistricting plays and all that, to still tip this thing over.
Man, I tell you, man, they have ignited a fire. Now, the key is, how do we keep this fire going?
All the way to November.
You got to keep this fire going all the way to November. and get out there and vote. The best, man, listen, the best revenge is to see these districts turn blue, that they have meant for putting 9 Republican congressional members into that seat, and they're just adding one. Jesus, you had 8 of the 9 districts as it was. But I tell you, there's a lot of passion, a lot of anger out there, amongst people that are seeing what these folks are doing, and people are motivated right now. But we got to keep that fire lit. In fact, we got to burn it, make that fire to the point to where it's a seething flame when November comes around.
Well, guys, you see what's going on around you. You see what's been happening with the politics, the war, the money. I mean, we're almost, at $5 on average. You know what I'm saying? If it keeps going this way, it might get up to 6.
Yeah.
Look, keep a tab. Get out. If you haven't already registered to vote, do so. If you don't know, if you got some people around you that you haven't done so, do so. And hold on to your hats until November, because that's when it's going to count.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, and look, I don't know if we have time, but we got to talk about this. All of the Dems being kicked off their committees.
Oh man,
I don't know
crazy.
if we have time or not, but
no, go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we all got letters, right? What's interesting is this: we all got these letters saying, "Hey, mine said, hey, Representative Parkinson, you have been removed from every committee that you were on in the House, and if you have questions, talk to Leader Camper, who is the minority leader. Don't talk to the Speaker. Don't call me."
Right.
Signed by the Speaker of the House. And what's interesting is that when you look at the timing of it. First of all, when the letters dropped, the story dropped. Right. So we didn't even know letters were coming, and the story hit the news at the same time. Right.
Right.
And so we're like, okay, wow. But here's the thing. Here's what you have to understand. We were kicked off these committees after session is over with. So these committees ain't even meeting. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
There's one committee that meets, that's GovOps, and maybe another one, Fiscal Review. But, we might have 3 Democrats on GovOps. I'm one of them on GovOps.
Right.
And we meet maybe once every other month or so, or something like that. And so we got, 6 months left. So there might have been 3 meetings. Fiscal Review may meet once. And so, we got kicked off committees that are basically non-existent, because when we come back into session next year, there's going to be another vote for a speaker. And then whoever that speaker is will then assign committees again. So that's that on it.
Wow.
So I'm going to the beach. I'm like, okay.
All right. I'm done.
Yeah, show me the water.
We wrapped up. And when does the session kick back in?
Session will start again in January. It's always the second Tuesday of January.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll see how it all rolls out. This is all happening right now. And we're just going to keep you guys in the loop, in the know, and make sure you guys tune into the Kenny Spoon Show, man. We're going to let you know what's up, man. We're going to talk about Megan Thee Stallion, but we're going to talk about this too.
There you go, man.
Got to do it all, baby.
There you go. Hey, yeah, make sure you follow me at TN Rep Parkinson, at TN Rep Parkinson. And I want my book on the shelf too, man. Stop praying for more. Yeah,
bring me that book.
Yeah, stop praying for more when you're still full of
Representative, represent that. No.
Yeah,
Memphis, Tennessee. Antonio Parkinson, man. Thank you, brother.
Man, no, thank you for having me, man. I truly appreciate you, man, and your voice.
Appreciate you.